Welcome to This Week in Twitter, the show with the creepiest intro, I think we all agree, of any live streaming Ustream show. We're very proud of our creepy, odd. There's something almost just uncanny about it. I can't put my finger on why it's so unsettling.
I don't know. It's the music, the distorted view, the bad Photoshop filter. It's all just
it's all
together. It's beautiful.
The music reminds me of that guy that would paint the happy trees.
Oh,
yes.
that's right.
Doesn't it?
Bob Ross?
Bob Ross,
yeah.
A little happy little bush right here. Why is that woman under a tree with a laptop? It's just odd.
She's really good Wi-Fi.
It was a little creepy at first, but now it's like...
Now it's like in your head all day, you're driving home. Yeah, no, I'm sorry about that. That's terrible. So we got some special guests today. I'll introduce them. Our first guest, former fashion industry insider who now blogs at 2.0.me, Life on Blast, and Couture Cult. I'm always paranoid I'm pronouncing that wrong. Couture?
Yes.
Okay, good. She was recently honored with the LA Weekly's 2009 Web Award for LA's Best Most Shameless Self-Promoter. Please welcome Alana Joy. We'll have to talk about shameless self-promotion in a little bit. My second guest, the director of content socialization for MySpace and the founder of the essential LA tech blog LalaWag, which also coincidentally won the LA Weekly 2009 Web Award for Best Tech Blog. Yay. He's the author of not one but two books, The Second Life In-World Travel Guide and MySpace Marketing, Creating a Social Network to Boom Your Business. He's the man of whom Andrew Warner once said, and I quote, "He seems to be a social media ninja." Please welcome Sean Percival.
Thank you.
Former Mahalo employee, Sean Percival,
Alum,
I
yes.
should note. An alum, yes. Making his glorious return to our humble studios.
Yep.
Used to work with me right out there. So let's jump in. One thing I definitely wanted to talk about this week, because it's something, I used to do this game, Name That Hashtag. I got a new game this week, so we're going to forget about that old game, because it never worked, because nobody ever looks at the trending topics. The whole game was based on, I would go back through the past week, look at trending topics, pick some out, and then I would quiz people, give them a bunch of terms, and then see if they could guess the hashtag that sort of tied all those terms together. Never worked, because everybody ignores trending topics. So that's my question. Why do people ignore trending topics?
So, I mean, I don't think that people do, actually. I think maybe the set of our viewers and the very tech-savvy people do. But, like, if you click on the trending topics, you'll notice it's very much a mainstream audience that's really getting into them. And they're always almost a meme about, like, you know you're dumb if. Like, it's always these kind of things.
Yes.
And, you know, I think also the local trending topics has probably diluted the value even more because now you're only looking at local trends as well.
It's probably true. Yeah, I just noticed, like, I thought everybody would sort of be over there and it would be useful for sort of buzz, and then I would throw it out and people would be like, I had no idea it was Pancake Day this week or something. Is it just, and it's a lot of that, you know you are broke if, ... and it's just, you know, it goes on forever.
Yeah, I find, I use TwitScoop a lot, and I have it open all day, sort of like a text cloud that's dynamically changing. I find that to be a little more useful, just because it seems to refresh quicker, and it's just more useful, I think, than what I see sometimes on Twitter's page.
Open all day, huh? Not getting any work done.
Yeah, right.
On TwitScoop all day. Good to know. Good to know. I'm going to remember that. I'll keep a note of it. So is it important that, you know, to sort of, people use that to kind of tap in, the hashtag trick of, like, I'm going to talk about something and then put the hashtag that's really common on it, and then people will sort of find me that way. I think that's a good strategy to use, because I've done that before and it doesn't really seem to pay off that huge.
I mean, I want Alana to talk about this. It's almost like hashtags have become an additional humor device that people are adding on to it. I mean, Alana does this more than most people. Alana and @Mona, a friend of ours as well too. I mean, what are you trying to accomplish? What are you doing? Because it's funny most of the time. It adds that last zinger, I guess.
I hashtag in like texts too and emails now. Just
Really?
It's part of my language. I mean, because really, you know, okay, like Google Trends is useful for a blogger. What's relevant? This is going to get me hits. This is But what do I need to know, like, you know your hood if, like, I don't care.
I think the idea is that if people are, because if those are trending, people are typing them themselves, they're searching for other people who are talking about that. So if you get sort of pulled into that network.
But sometimes it's like, okay, certain celebrities will be live streaming. And so they'll put a hashtag, and every time somebody joins it, the hashtag, and then the hashtag is trending.
Right.
And it's like Tila Tequila.
Yeah, like, but nobody's actually searching for that one, right?
Nobody's searching for that. And I think if you put a hashtag into your tweet with the hopes that people are going to find you that way, you're probably going to get the followers that'll follow you, and then if you don't follow them back, they delete you.
Right.
You know, it's not authentic. It's Yeah.
Which actually leads to, sort of a fascinating question, especially if you're a blogger and you're somebody who's got a lot of content you're trying to promote, is like, what are you looking for in an ideal follower? I mean, this week, this is not Twitter, this is Facebook, but Microsoft did this Bing ad in Farmville. Did you guys see this?
Yeah, they got 300,000
I think 400,000 in a day, new followers, but those are people who, it's just like, click here and get farm cash. Like, those people just want the cash. They don't really want to follow Bing around and know what Microsoft is planning next with Bing. Like,
totally.
So is that quality followers? I mean, does it matter? Is there such a thing? Or is any follower a good follower?
I actually sent out a tweet this week saying, like, no, Nabisco, you cannot has my soul on Facebook in exchange for a few Oreos. Because they did a thing where, like, if you follow them on Facebook, and you'll get, like, a packet of Oreos.
Like 2 Oreos?
But then Nabisco has all my information,
otherwise.
and then Nabisco is spamming my stream, and it's like, I'm not interested. Not interested.
I think it's very easy to get obsessed with that number, and that number means almost nothing. And the best metric for determining your true following count is when you tweet something out, if you use like Posterous or anything that you can derive analytics from. So every time I tweet, I have roughly 10,000 followers. Just about every time I'll get 100 to 150 clicks on my link. That tells me I have 150 people that are actively engaged. So out of 10,000 people, there's 150 real great followers that will click on almost everything I have. And so I think, the number, I wouldn't worry about it too. Brands love big numbers, and this is what they sell to the execs who have no idea. They go to the exec and they say, look, 50,000 followers. And the exec goes, good job. Here's your bonus, you're done. But really, I mean, the engagement is so little.
It's probably held over from like TV. If you're in TV advertising, it's all just the number of eyeballs. Like those people are sitting in front of the couch watching your ad. That's all you can really hope for in advertising. You're not thinking they're going to jump up off the couch and go buy something immediately. But the internet, there's so many different levels of engagement. I mean, there's like something pops up on my screen. There's a million things that pop up on my screen all day. What do I actually click on and follow and investigate and read more about?
I actually use, when I'm pitching clients, I actually use stats from Clout because it shows you how retweeted you are, how many people will actually interact and engage, how many at replies. That information, I include that because that to me is more valuable to somebody who has insight that I'm pitching, that they understand that, like, if I post a link for you, it will be, engaged.
Yeah,
so.
And I think you're always trying to bring a bigger audience, so it's good to bring more people in. But I think that's a great point. There's another service called From People Browser. They did a partnership with Adly, which is ad.ly. And like you could go in there and it shows you a breakdown, engaged and not engaged. And that tells you, and they determine this based on if the people are spammers, if they retweet you, if they're active as well too. Because you got to think about, as you grow exponentially, you're also bringing in more spammers. And a lot of these spammers, the accounts go dormant, they never touch them beyond that. So it's like that number means nothing because it was automated, it was a bot, and nobody's watching.
Right, they're just bots that follow everybody and then wait for people to follow them back and then unfollow or whatever. There's no human being there. So do you think it's the ratio? I mean, is that the telling stat? Because I know some people have started focusing more on that, like how many people you're following to follower. And I actually went to both of your Twitter accounts, and you both have a very impressive ratio. I have about like 1 to 2. I have about 2 followers for every person I'm following. You guys are like 1 to 5, 1 to 6, even higher. So is that something that's important to you that you've sort of focused on as a goal? Like, these people are going to be better because they didn't need me to follow them in order to follow me?
I follow people who actually interact with me. I'm not snobby about it. If you actually talk to me and I see that you are a real person, you read my content, you are engaged, I'll absolutely follow you back. A lot of people follow me and I see that they follow me, they're from LA. But if they never say hi, what's the point? You're following me, you find me. Like, if I start following someone because I'm interested in their stream, I might not say hi, but I will reply once I see something interesting.
Right. So it's not necessarily like that DM, like, hey, thanks for following me. I have this blog post you should check out.
I will unfollow you if I'm following you, and I will not follow you ever again if you do that. I hate that.
I agree. That drives me crazy.
So I do 2 things. So if you look at my personal accounts like that because I actually use the account. I actually read it. I actually try and follow along. And I struggle. I go back and forth between wanting to follow everyone and then wanting to just follow selectively. The problem with following selectively is it's a time commitment. And it is tough to sit there and you have to look at your followers coming in and being like, make that decision. Do I want to follow them? So if you look at the Lolowag account, though, it's about the same reach. It's about 10,000. I'm also following 10,000 people. It's just a one-to-one. I'm following everyone because I don't have the time to make these decisions, so I want to open that up to everyone and give them the ability to DM me, because maybe they have a story or a tip.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think, it is impressive, and if you look at the real Twitter elitists, and I won't name names, you'll see that they're like 20,000 followers and 40, and they're following 40 people.
Yeah.
Let's call out Lauren Feldman. He's the best at this. Lauren Feldman has like 6,000 followers, and he's following 4 people.
4 people.
2 of which are like cats, and one's a squirrel.
Right,
That's the ultimate like FU to the establishment and the numbers game. It's like, look, this is who, I don't care about who you guys are, but what they also do is they follow people on a list. And so you can kind of have unlimited amount of followers.
That guy vacillates, though, because he'll have like 1,000 people that he's following, and he'll cut them off or like block them just to drive them crazy. So
what's the following strategy on the other account that you newly created for the upcoming child that you're going to be at?
At Percival Spawn.
Correct.
Yeah, my unborn child does have a Twitter account, and I know that's kind of weird, but that's not weird to me. And Lori's managing that account, and so she'll make the decision on if she follows him back. And it's funny, like even though my wife is very savvy, she's like, well, I don't want to follow everyone back. I'm like, well, you understand it's a public account. Anyone can follow it and get in there. But I mean, she's manually following on that account, and it's an open public account, so it's not private, so we don't have to worry too much about it.
It's also on Foursquare, I should add. I think a number of us actually checked in.
You have checked into my wife's womb.
Right. Oh, that's right.
I don't know how I feel about that, but this, I guess, is the climate we live in. So.
Well, if you have something to eat or drink there, you check in. That's my rule. I couldn't help myself.
That was really bad.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself.
I thought it was funny.
Let's. I think the idea with Lalawag though too is it's a brand. People don't have the expectation that you're going to read everything they write. Yeah. I think that's a really important thing. Like, what expectation do you have if somebody chooses to follow you? Are you expecting that they're going to actually read what you're writing, or is it sort of more passive?
I think it's a really nice affirmation for someone to get that follow back from you. And a lot of people aren't going to know. I automate it. I use Social 2 to do that, and they automatically follow people back for me. I think it's a nice affirmation, and they probably don't realize that it's automated. But it's like, wow, Lalawag, oh, cool. I'm interested in that property, and they followed me back. We have a connection. And like I said, I have a direct channel with them through DM now if I want to. Of course, now that I do that, it's almost all DM spam. But we don't actively read the account, but we do check DMs to see if there's anything in there.
Yeah, I have a Twitter account for each of my sites, and then I have a Twitter account for myself as well. And the Twitter accounts for my sites, I don't even look at the DMs because it really is just a bunch of spam.
Yes.
I just voted for, Justin Bieber to
oh, Justin Bieber.
Is that how you say it? I don't even know. My sister's obsessed. I don't even understand really. He's like 5. I don't.
I think he's 16 now. I was told the other 16 big years old.
He looks like he's like 12 years
old.
He
really does look young. It's
or
almost
maybe
unsettling.
I'm getting older, so my own perspective is skewed. He looks like he's like 10.
No, I'm right there with you. And that's right. In those videos when he's singing to like girls about how much he loves them and everything, it's like, this is just wrong.
What do you know? What do you know about it?
Stop.
I really worry about kids these days. I know we're getting off topic, but like I grew up with Poison and Motley Crue, and that really defined me. They're growing up with all this sappy love stuff. They're not old enough to know what love is. Come on.
They're not growing up with sappy love stuff.
No, you don't. Justin is. I love.
Well, you've got Justin Bieber, and then you've got like Lil Wayne on the other side.
Yeah,
there's a balance there.
There is some
There is some sort of back and forth, but I
love that. Smash that.
Right.
Perfect.
That really sums up what contemporary love is all about. Love it or smash it. So how important is, just switch gears a little bit, how important is it, do you think, to tweet like a lot? If you're somebody who's trying to build a brand, get people to sort of follow you, pay attention to what you're saying, is it, because we had this conversation with Marcia Collier, who talks about like how she obsessively tweets like all day, and it reminds herself every like hour. How important is that, do you think, or is it okay to sort of unplug sometimes when you don't have anything amazing to say?
Well, if you don't have anything specifically to say, don't. Because you're just going to dilute your own whatever you're doing.
Right.
But tweeting became second nature really quickly for me. And so my personal account is where I do the most of my tweeting. And sometimes it's work related, sometimes it's personal, sometimes it's just a song, sometimes it's a link, sometimes it's my link, sometimes it's other people's links. So there should be a variety.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Variety is super important. Like when I'm following somebody and they're always... Every link they send out, I eventually figure out is to the same blog or something that I start to zone. I may not unfollow them, but I just zone out.
Well, and you won't ever click on their stuff anymore.
Yeah.
So I think it's important if you're gonna tweet a lot to just switch it up and show all sides of your personality and not just, hustle your posts because, it's not going to be effective.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't tweet very much, and I probably read more than I tweet, and I won't call him a wise man, but Francisco Dow, who's at the man, is his Twitter account. Once said that
wise.
Yeah, the I don't even remember the quote, but it was along the lines of the more tweets you have, the less value is in each tweet because you have so much out there. I don't necessarily totally agree. I think there's two different crowds of Twitter users. There's people like Alana who do tweet a lot, and I follow her, and I like kind of watching her story, and so it's not a big deal to me. But then there's people that are really scared to tweet, and they only want to do 1 a day or 2 a day.
Yeah.
So I think whatever works for you. That's the great thing about Twitter. You don't have to worry. You don't have to be in 1 or 2 buckets. Whatever works for you is really kind of just go with it and live it and love it. You're going to attract people who have the same volume level that you do, and that same interest level as well too. So you'll birds of a feather flock together, I guess.
There's definitely people who tweet a lot and they're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
and there's definitely, they tweet a lot and it's too much, and sometimes they'll beat a tweet to death. It's almost like you tweet and then they respond, and then they don't stop. And it's what they forget, I think, or lose sight of is that on their whole stream, everybody else is seeing this lame conversation just
this back
happening
and forth,
where it's not even entertaining. You're just doing it to tweet and be seen, but you're kind of making yourself look bad too. So it's some people are doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. The long conversations that eventually degenerate into OMFG, lol. It's nothing is more defeating when you're reading somebody's stream.
I mean, I do think
just
that Twitter
18 lols in a row.
Yeah, it is not a chat room. It has chat functionality to it, but it's not an ongoing chat room. And some people do use it for that, and they'll go back and forth for hours. Or there is the people, and once again, I won't name names, that will sit and just @message every single person, and really because they're doing it because they want people, like you said, they want attention, they want that person to write back to them, get exposure in that person's stream. So you do have to be mindful of that.
But I don't respect it because it's never content with those people.
Yeah.
It's never, it's like I'm tweeting all day, but there's a hustle behind it. I'm genuinely sharing what I'm thinking or doing, but there's a hustle behind it. But it's not always a hustle. You have to have a balance.
Yes.
It can't be all conversational if you're trying to also market yourself, and it can't be entirely marketing yourself.
Yeah, and I think with everything online, it's about being a good tastemaker. So it's telling your story. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm going for. This is something cool that I found. It's not my own. And then here's my own stuff sprinkled in there as well too. I would say my own stuff would be sprinkled in least amount compared to everything else.
I try to keep it under 25%, I think, in my head, is how I have it. More than a quarter of what I tweet should not be check out this Mahalo link, or here's this new video show I made. And there are definitely, Fridays, I have This Week in YouTube, and then this show, and then I'm on This Week in Startups. I'm very mindful of the fact that Fridays, my feed kind of sucks. Because it's all
Friday's your spam day.
Blatantly self-promotional. I should try to line up on some other days or something. But yeah, I think once you're more than a quarter or so, you're kind of letting people down. It would be like if you're watching a TV show and it's cutting in every 3 minutes with an ad. It's you're going to lose the thread of the show by the end.
But whatever your brand is, you should tweet about stuff that, for example, my sites are fashion and beauty, or subculture and music and different topics like that. So in order to build an audience that will actually read my stuff, I tweet about those things all the time and other people's things. And so then people know that kind of content is what they're going to get in my stream.
Right.
And sometimes it's mine, but it's not always mine. It's coming from everywhere, but the content is consistent.
It's kind of interesting, almost like programming a channel. If you're following this feed, you're interested in fashion.
Right.
So here's some of my thoughts on fashion, but here's other people's thoughts on couture, which I now know how to say.
So I just have a question. So I'd be interested, because you guys manage multiple accounts. What are the tools you guys use on a daily basis?
I mean, honestly, Tweety, the iPhone app, is a godsend, and it's $2. I would pay $400 for it. It saves you so much time. The other good ones are Hootsuite, which is nice.
Hootsuite is awesome.
is great.
Yeah.
Really good for multiple accounts. And then I'm on Seismic Desktop as well.
Seismic guy.
Yeah, Seismic. How about you?
Once upon a time, I was really excited by all the different platforms you can use. I use the web now. I'm done.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
You know what? Because it takes 3 seconds. I keep my passwords programmed into my browser.
So you'll sign out and relog back in, and
you know why? Because it became. I used to use TweetDeck. It takes up a lot of my computer's resources, and I have work to do. Tweeting is a fraction of that, and I can't have my spinny wheel all the time. I'm mainly on my Alana Joy Twitter. I have my tweet feed or whatever that posts links to the other accounts.
Twitter feed, yeah.
Twitter feed.
Twitter feed's great if you have multiple accounts
kind of,
and you're creating content.
It is. It's great, but it's kind of inconsistent. And on one of my accounts, for some reason, it's tweeting like all this code. I have to figure out what's going on with that. But
yeah, I used to have my blog hooked up to that, and every once in a while, like once every couple of weeks, it gets just glitchy for a day, and it sends out like it won't send out stuff. Yeah,
and then all of a sudden it'll just put like 10.
Right, it'll go back into the archives
and
even.
Like, sorry, I spammed you guys.
It's a little odd.
But I just use the web, and I'm actually I have tried Brizzly, and I like Brizzly because it's web-based. I don't want to have to use my computer's resources when I've got iMovie, Photoshop, WordPress, like all these things open. I'm not into it anymore, especially now that I have lists.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Brizzly's great too because it's Twitter and Facebook. So if you don't want to feed all your tweets into Facebook, which I've kind of grown sour on. I used to do that.
Yeah, I stopped doing that.
I'm thinking of pulling it back because it's just a lot of crud that my Facebook followers don't care about.
I tweet too much to link it to my Facebook.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel that. I was the same way with Google Buzz. At first, I was like, oh, I'm going to dump my tweets in here, and then I'm just like, oh, these people don't care about all that garbage. But Brizzly's great because there's a lot of connection between Twitter and Facebook on it, so you can just tweet one thing and then selectively say, let's send this to Facebook. So using just the web to do what is like a killer feature that you wish Twitter would put on the web?
I really, really, really do not like the retweet.
Yes.
What they said, like I on the right track, going the wrong way. Like what is the we want to take part in the conversation. We want to contribute. You can't add anything. You can't. What I don't understand why they couldn't just you click on it, the retweet, and then it says, "Do you want to retweet?" Yes. What should happen then is that it opens up into a little they could put a little mini window with a line where I could type my own little 2 cents or whatever, CC someone or put a hashtag or contribute to the retweet. I also don't like that we all have to look in a separate place now, too, to see. I have to look in 2 places to see my retweets. I have to look at my @replies, and then I have to go look in the retweet section.
That is miserable, having to click retweets and then select the tab so you can see.
And then within the retweets, it's like other people's, mine, it's bad news, and I can't, thanks for the retweet, easily. So those people do get left out because
it's a little bit of a mess, the retweet system.
It absolutely is. That UI and that, like you're talking about, your tweets are tweeted and other people retweet, and it's like all these things. You have to actually think about, wait, what am I looking at? Like that's a bad UI.
And if it's annoying for us, I mean, people who are
don't even know it's
barely learning to tweet. Like you were saying earlier, I read, I believe it was a Nielsen statistic that like 10% of Twitter users make up for 90% of Twitter's content. You know, I mean, if we're so they kind of do need to accommodate that 10%, and none of us like it. I think I can fairly speak for everyone. Nobody likes that. I don't understand it.
I want to make some bold predictions about the Twitter web interface because they've been hinting.
Bold predictions.
Tell me more.
Yes, go on. So they've hinted that something's coming up, and Alex, who's one of their main developers, got in a lot of trouble for talking about this. They've essentially put the PR smackdown on him, and he can't do this anymore. So here's what I think is going to happen. One, they're going to redo retweeting and how you read this altogether. This is what I'm feeling because that experience sucks, and I don't know what they're going to do. I think you'll see more trending, like, oh, here's a trending topic list, or here's the trending retweets of my friends. I think the other thing they're going to do is geolocation. I think you're going to see this come into and be a big part of it. I'm concerned that maybe that they're going to actually go head-to-head against Foursquare.
At this point, I have to say, like, I love Foursquare. It's fun. It's great. I like Gowalla, too, which Jason actually is an angel investor in, so I sort of started using it after that.
You have to, I know. Otherwise,
it was like, what are you doing? Check in on Gowalla.
Foursquare, how dare you?
So now I check in actually twice everywhere I go, which is a little annoying. But I don't understand why other sites that already have most of these features haven't. Like Yelp started to do that recently, where now you could actually check in on the Yelp iPhone app when you're at places. Like what's taking them so long? It seems like that's an obvious. People are interested in local. Everybody wants to see what's going on right around them.
Yeah, I mean, for years everyone's always like mobile ads, geo-targeted ads. Like this is where money is going to be, and I think it's true. And I think it's just inching closer. And everyone always makes the reference of Minority Report, where you walk in the store and it goes, "Hey, how do you like that?" Like, I think we are going to get closer to that too. And Foursquare does it really well, but are they ever going to hit the mass? I don't know. Will Gowalla ever become a mass, application that everyone's into like they are with Twitter? Will they ever see 10 million users? Will they ever see 100 million users? I don't know. Twitter already has that, so why not leverage that, bring that in, let companies come in and sponsor these things? You tweet and you get something, and I don't know. You got to do that, in a way that doesn't, totally alienate the product though and get everyone pissed off. But at this point, they're entrenched enough that they need to take some risk and try something like that.
Yeah, Gowalla, I think the UI on it is so great. It's fun, it's colorful, it's like easy to use. It's just the game itself to me, and I've actually I've emailed back and forth a little bit with some of their team about this. The game itself to me doesn't make a ton of sense. Like the whole game is based on you go places, you check in. Sometimes you get items like you got a ski hat or you got a glove or you got a cup of coffee. And it's like, well, that's cool. And you can leave it at other places and other people can pick it up. But there doesn't seem to be like an end point to it.
Yeah, how about really getting a cup of coffee?
That,
how about really getting a hat?
Right.
How about then you can actually incorporate sponsors and things like that and actually use it. Nobody's really doing that.
When we were in Park City, I was at Sundance for a little bit this year, and there were places in Park City that were trying to do a little bit of that, like check in on Foursquare here and we'll give you like a juice for free or something. So I feel like, that's got to be like 10x. I mean, I got to experience that a lot to really get into using these
You should be
programs
rewarded for mayorships. You should be rewarded for, on any of these platforms, there should be actual rewards, real rewards. Once upon a time, there used to be... This is definitely before my time, but like stickers or stamps, and then when you have enough, it was like a Brady Bunch episode where you have enough and you earn like a radio or kind of like that. People want real tangible things.
Well, I think that websites, and Mahalo's somewhat guilty of this as well too, is there's an obsession with what they call game theory. And the idea is you have to keep pushing the users to the next level. And I think it's fine and it's interesting, and it certainly works for a lot of companies. So the badging, the dropping of items, that was my complaint on Gowalla too, is it wasn't really implicit. I didn't immediately understand what I was doing when I was doing these dropping and adding items.
Right, you're just like, well, what, am I trying to collect all the items? Well, how many are there? And, are they themed? Is it like...
It's almost like a crutch to kind of get people into the product and get them started. The most interesting thing about Foursquare is when I check in and it goes, you're at LAX with at so-and-so, at so-and-so. Like, I love that because then it's like, oh, I didn't even know. Like, one, I might know that person because we run in the same circle. Two, maybe I'm single, and I go, who is that girl? Oh, it's Hot Girl. I walk over to her. Like, I make a real world connection from there too. So I think that's the most interesting thing is when you have more people on the platform, exposing who's in a very general vicinity of you is
that was actually what I was thinking with Foursquare. They should open that up a little. It's like who's within 2 miles of you that's in your network.
Let's let people really stalk each other.
Well, for real. But if you're already following them, like if I'm at a place and then somebody I know is around the corner.
I don't know about that.
You've opted in though if you've told where you are.
If I check in at place A and somebody else has checked in at place B and they're connected on the system, I don't see why person B couldn't find out person A is over there. You already checked in. And if you don't want to, if you're afraid of like the stalkery thing, you can check in as you leave the place, which is what my sort of technique
I'm very
has
selective with Foursquare. I don't like to check in everywhere I go. Some people do. Some people will, I drove by, I'm checking in. And that's kind of lame to me. Like, you're way too into it.
Checking in on the 405
Yeah, people, listen, you don't need to check in on like every exit. You don't need to check in at every place you pass by. I do it strategically, I guess. If I'm somewhere just where I'm public and I don't mind people knowing, or like I checked in when I got here because people know that I'm doing this. Or like you were saying, if I'm at an event and I want to see who's there already, I'll check in and be able to look and go, oh, okay, these are all my friends who are here already, which I like.
I don't want to go too off topic, talk about these location stuff too much. Do you have concerns about your safety when you use these things? Because a lot of women are coming to me and saying they do have concerns. Husbands are coming to me and saying, can you talk to my wife because she keeps checking in everywhere she goes and it really concerns me. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I think, like I said, again, you don't need to check in when you're at the grocery store, when you stop at the gas station, because that doesn't, where's the even benefit from that? What, do you really want to get the like, oh my God, you're a gas guzzler badge? Like, who cares? Really, who cares?
You're the mayor of Chevron.
Yeah, I don't want to be the mayor of Chevron. I'm fine not being the mayor of Chevron. That's okay. I think, don't be, like I said, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Check in when you're somewhere public and all your friends are there. Great. Everyone knows you're there. That's safe. But yeah, you don't need to check in at the grocery store and here and there, because the thing is that you don't know. There are some absolutely great people that I've met through Twitter, a lot of great people I've met through Twitter, and there are also a handful of really weird kind of
Yes.
stalkerish psycho people that react oddly to the things you say, and like you don't know where they are, or like they could be in town. They could, oh, she's at the gas station, like, zoom, I can go there.
Yeah.
You never know what's going to happen. Everybody thinks it's not going to happen to you, but it's going to happen. And I'm sure there's probably stories of where weird things have already happened.
There definitely is. I mean, definitely.
Some,
once it goes more mainstream, that's going to be an even bigger problem, because with Facebook already, we've seen that go really mainstream. The people are like, they got into a fight on Facebook and then hunted each other down, or they found out through Facebook where to find the other person. I mean, that's already happening. So
I keep my geolocation off on everything.
I think
it's none of anybody's business where I am unless I want to tell them.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's fun and it's useful, but yeah, for more like following big things that it matters where you are. Like, I'm at this big party, I'm at this award show, I'm at this studio or whatever. Like, yeah, checking in like everywhere you go. It's just sort of asking for trouble. Although,
and it's kind of spammy.
Yeah, it's a little spammy. But I especially, which I hate, the people who then send those updates constantly back into Twitter. Ryan Budke. That, like, oh
Ryan
my
Budke's
God.
bad, I know.
Every time's like, I'm at Dagwood's eating some pizza. Like, I don't. If you go there 5 times a week, I don't need to know about every time you go there for a sandwich. It just doesn't matter. Any other killer features Twitter is missing? I know we got the geolocation. Anything else you'd love to have on there that you don't have?
I mean, the one that comes to mind, and as I deal, obviously working with MySpace, and one of the first things I did there was kind of consolidate their Twitter accounts and start setting up new accounts.
Right.
I would love to have the business features. I would love to have the co-tweet or the Hootsuite integrated directly into Twitter. I would love to see analytics. It's really tough when I try and help someone with Twitter. I'm like, oh, you need to use these 3 services externally. Like, I would love to bring those things in. The ability to have multiple accounts in one login. Like, I think these are things that these are things, like, this is a revenue opportunity as well. Like, you want me to pay 20 a month or 50 a year, whatever it works out to be, I would do it. So.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like Yammer is sort of eating their lunch on this issue. For they should be integrating a lot of that stuff, and make us pay. People would pay.
Yeah.
Definitely Mahalo, that comes up all the time, where we've got Mahalo video games, and I would love to give that to every single person who writes video game content for us, and just let them sort of co-tweet or participate in the stream. And the only way to do that now is basically like give away our username and password, make sure no 2 people are on there at the same time, or you're going to be staggering all these crazy tweets together.
So you do have to think about this, though. So notice that there's not one single brand that has a verified account. You can't. Doesn't matter who you are. They won't give you a verified account.
Yeah, they made it. They did it, and then they stopped doing it.
So it's only people, personalities. So they are reserving the verified account for businesses for some kind of play.
Right.
So we have to wait. And there have been some leakings of a business account coming up. So I mean, it's on the road, or on the roadmap, I guess.
So you mentioned a little bit about the MySpace gig. I'm very curious, because I think Director of Content Socialization, not a job title you hear very often. You want to walk us through what that actually involves day to day?
Completely made it up now.
Content socializing?
It's tough, and we talked a lot, and really, when I look back on it, I don't really care what the title is. I work in marketing. I help with so many things there. I help on product. The socialization piece came, honestly, because we started talking about maybe doing a director of social media, and I kind of feel that social media is already on its way out in terms of being a descriptive term about what someone does.
Yeah.
And the explanation, this is from Brian Solis, is think about multimedia. Do you remember when people used to say multimedia? This is a multimedia computer. This is a multimedia experience.
It's like text and video.
Yeah, you would never say that nowadays. And so I feel
like new media.
Yeah, new media is good too, because it will always be evolving.
And as new things come, it involves those things. I like new media.
And we really, we had a company line, and a few things have changed because it's always an interesting story over there. And our company line was about content socialization. We have this massive user base, and the product never evolved where people could easily share and talk about content. And so that is really where at the heart of what we're trying to establish with the product is building tools and building the functionality that people can share and kind of swarm around the content they love, and also surface it as well too, and then talk about it and vocalize it. And so that's really kind of where it came from. And I don't have a great explanation for it, other than I wanted something new, and I pitched it and they went for it.
I just think, just that interesting. Like, well, what do you get into the office? It's 9 or 11. Whenever you get into the office, you get your coffee, you sit down, and then it's like, all right,
Let's start socializing.
Let's start socializing some of this content.
Yep.
Is there any concern, and this is not exactly on the Twitter topic, it just interests me, is there any concern about preserving what is very MySpace-y about MySpace at the same time? Because I think that would be the hard balance, is like, people want their glittery unicorn banners on there. Like, those wouldn't be on there if they didn't want them
Please do something
there.
about that.
Sure. Well,
Can you ban the GIFs, please?
Glittery-
Well, see, it's funny because a
unicorn
lot of people
banners?
will say that, but really what it comes down to is the glitter graphics, the customization is the DNA of MySpace. It's
Right,
really
yeah.
what's there. I did an interesting experiment. I have a MySpace page on Facebook. Go to facebook.com/MySpace. You get a really great insight into what our users want, what they're thinking about, and most of them are saying, don't take away my CSS, don't take away
Right.
my glitter graphics. Like, they still want these. And so we obviously have a lot going on, a lot of stuff that I can't really talk about, but I can say that is part of our DNA, and that people will always have the ability to customize themselves and to express themselves through MySpace. And the whole thing about MySpace now, moving forward, it's about discovery and being discovered. And one of the best ways to be discovered is to be yourself and to kind of, tell your story through a profile or through a web experience. So, I mean, yeah, maybe there's a little more discipline that comes in, and like some users have gone a little too far and they'll push things way down the page and they'll make the page 5,000 pixels wide. They won't be able to do that. So there'll be a little bit of discipline, but they,
Rein in a little with the...
we're going to maintain the DNA and maintain the heart of the project, the website itself.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that's how I feel. Like, it's so easy to come in as like a sort of an early adopter kind of person or an insider and be like, oh, it's wallpaper. You can't even read the text. This is so ugly. But it's like, people are doing it that way. I mean, you don't get any better focus group than this is how people have set up their own page. Obviously, there's something they like about it.
Facebook first came out, everyone complained against Facebook because you couldn't
It's so rigid.
customize it like
it's
MySpace.
so rigid. Yeah.
And then now it's sort of like kind of switched.
I mean, I see a lot of feedback from people that says, don't stop copying Facebook. And I wouldn't say that we're really copying Facebook. I mean, Facebook has a lot of things. These are what modern people want, or this is what the modern social needs are of people. And, we will kind of have a few things similar to them. But, I mean, yeah, they're different experiences. It's an ongoing debate between these two sites.
Yes,
I can't even tell you what's going to happen in the end. But you know what? I just want our users to be happy and have something to do and feel like they can express themselves and be discovered through the site. And so I'll do anything I can to help build that for them.
I think Facebook actually, people still push back against the rigidity of it, because every time they change it, they change one thing and everybody goes nuts, and then they eventually get used to it.
I mean, this happened on Dig. I mean, here's the thing, is what it really comes down to is the happy user never says anything. The happy user just uses the product. The pissed off user was so vocal, and you just, they'll get in, they'll yell, and they'll scream. You can't please everyone, but you can really, do what you can.
Let's get 20 million people to say they hate the new Facebook.
Let's do
I
these
don't like
groups,
Facebook. I've never liked Facebook. I was dragged kicking and screaming over to Facebook from MySpace, to be honest. And I don't like it. I don't. It's obligatory. I recently unfollowed half of everybody who was following me. I didn't know who they were.
I did that
It wasn't
recently as
useful
well.
to me because of that. I don't like that I can't personalize it. I don't like that there's I've come up with, like you were saying about Twitter, there's all these different, you have to use like 3 different services to, to really use Facebook to promote my stuff. I do as well. I have to use something to feed in my RSS, and then there's like a Mirror blog app and a Tumblr blog app, but I want that all integrated. I don't want people to have to look in 10 different places. I've got one blog here, I've got another blog in a tab, I've got another blog feeding in. It's too much. And it's not intuitive. But what it is a place where my grandmother is there, my sister is there, my brother is there, my friends are there, business associates are there. As like a centralized, fancy address book.
Basically, yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. But I don't interact with people there. I hate the chat. It's any time that more than one person is chatting with me, it just slows down. My whole browser gets wonky.
Yeah. I think
Not into it.
on a previous week, I don't remember which week this was, on the show we were talking about this similar topic, Facebook versus Twitter. And Facebook, to me at this point, is all the people that don't follow me on Twitter. Like, they're not into Twitter, and I have to go to Facebook to sort of reach them. So like old high school friends or my family who are just not, they can't handle the real-time, be plugged in all day aspect of Twitter, so they like hanging out on Facebook. And so, yeah, that's where I'll go. And that's another reason, like, I pull all my tweets into my Facebook, and then, like, my mom is seeing all of them, and I'll forget that. So I'll be like, went to the doctor's today, and she's like, honey, what is wrong? Why don't you call me?
Yeah.
It's like I'm creating this sort of,
So that's always
difficulty.
interesting too. And
worlds are colliding.
Man, let me tell you, I was one of the very first users of MySpace. I was user number 3,200 and something. That account's been deleted since then, but I can tell you, man, that this is history repeating itself.
Yeah.
I'm seeing so many cycles, and I'm wondering how this is going to go, because that's what a lot of people are saying too. Is like, well, my mom's on Facebook. I don't want to be there anymore. And I've had the same issue too, where I used to feed my things in, and my mom would call me and go, "What is this about?" And like, usually I do some stuff for shock value, and I'll be the first to admit it. And so, I mean, that did kind of concern me too. And I've seen bumper stickers that says your mom is on Facebook, and I don't know, that may have been on the wall in MySpace somewhere. But like, really, it's like, yeah, I mean, this is history repeating itself. I don't think parents will get into Twitter because it is more like a chat room, and they don't really want to be part of that. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, we're seeing so many things repeat themselves. I'm going to stop talking before I get myself.
Well, now my friend's mom just got on Twitter because she's an interior designer and she wants to expand
for her
business. And you know, that's the thing where people don't understand, but they're starting to, and they need to. And I actually was recently talking to somebody that was saying, like, you know, I joined Twitter, but I don't really know what to do with it, or like how it's going to be a benefit to me. And when I first started on Twitter, I didn't understand really either. Like, I was like, why do I need this? I can text everybody. Yeah. But from a business standpoint and not a personal standpoint, it's invaluable. It really is. If you do it right, it is invaluable. And you would think, I was talking to someone about a brand that I've been pitching, and a friend of mine said, well, wow, like, I'm surprised they don't already have somebody doing that stuff. And I'm like, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised how many big, huge brands, like, it's common to us, but they don't realize yet, like, why they need to take a piece of their marketing budget and set it aside and focus on this. But if you do it right, it is invaluable. And she can, even just for her local business, she can build her network. She can, you know, meet people who, you know, do interiors and network with them. She can meet people who, you know, will bring her clients and do in that respect, it's invaluable.
I mean, real quick, and we can move on. And I see the chat room going back and forth and doing this. And you know what? I would really love to look forward to the day when we don't have to sit and debate Twitter, Facebook, MySpace, all these other things. Like, I just don't know. I mean, we're never probably going to have one network. I just, like, the endless debate is really kind of tiring me. And it's fun and interesting to talk about, but I would love it if we could get to a point beyond that. And I think it is critical. And once again, I'm going to reference Lauren Feldman, 1938 Media, that these all things are great, and that is invaluable, and it's a great way to build audience and find people. But at the end of the day, you have to own your own domain. Like, this is where you are. Like,
that's step one.
Remember, people used to always, every billboard was myspace.com/da-da-da.
Right.
Well, now it's facebook.com/da-da-da. And, you know, I think it's great to build those followings there, but man, I mean, you've sold your brand out to a certain extent.
You have to drive it all back to your own central location.
You have ultimate control.
That's what strategy is for, and that's why, you know, it was something that's really annoying. But a lot of companies, what they're doing is they're like, oh, we're looking for a social media intern, and if we pay you at all, we're going to pay you $10 an hour. And it's like, you're copping out and you're doing it wrong. And what you're actually doing to yourself is you're going to have to undo a lot of the branding mistakes that you're making by having some, like, intern who doesn't even know how to handle their own Twitter account yet doing that stuff.
Basically being the voice and face of your entire company.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sort of amazing that you would give that over to, like,
you need somebody who has the insight because they've done it, they're doing it, and they know things like that. Like, we need to bring like, we need to use these things to get it out there and make, you know, whatever it is viral, but then we need to be bringing it back to our own centralized place. A lot of people are posting their original content on Facebook. What are you doing?
Yep.
You know, like, anybody can have a Tumblr that they can do it in 2 seconds and, you know, plug in a theme and plug in a custom domain and you're done. You don't need, you know, even the complexity of WordPress anymore necessarily. Just, you can easily, 1, 2, 3, bring people back to your own space.
Yeah, I think that's important. Even not, I mean, obviously for companies to be like drive people back to where your site is that you want them to. But even for individuals, I think that's something people tend to forget about. Is if you're just out there promoting yourself, you just for your next job, or if you're consulting and you want to get another gig or get more work, whatever. You're a wannabe host, you want to get attention, get on some video show. Like, you have to actually have a real presence that is just you, aside from I'm on Tumblr and I'm on Flickr and I'm on Facebook and come check out my profile. You see a lot of like that sort of self-promotion, but it's just kind of blind self-promotion out there on social media that it's just like, hey, look at me, I'm really super, and here's stuff that I'm interested in. And it's not a coherent sort of message.
let's talk about one of the ultimate self-promoters, aside from Alana, is Jason, the man who built this great, wonderful studio. Now, look at what he's done. He has followings on all these networks, and he has pretty large followings.
Very significant.
Maybe a year or two ago, he said, you know what, I'm going to have a newsletter. And a lot of people laughed at that and were like, why would you have a newsletter? Well, I can tell you that 20,000 subscribers are so captivated, they're reading every single thing that goes through there. A lot of those are not following him on Twitter. A lot of those have put a blind spot to him on Twitter because he does promote Mahalo a lot. Maybe they're not into that. The newsletter is just pure gold. It's something he owns completely. It's portable. That's the other big piece as well too. So newsletters, your own site, RSS subscribers, these are really great audiences to have.
And actually the fascinating thing, because I sit next to that guy, so I see the replies that come in. He's a delight. I don't know what you're talking about. I see the replies that come in to the newsletter, and those people, I mean, on Twitter you'll get replies and it's like, lol, and it's just you. He's getting essays. People are writing, they're spending a half an hour, 45 minutes to write back really well thought out, extensive responses to what he's saying. I mean, the interaction is on such a high, it's not even comparable.
Because if you like somebody enough or somebody's content enough to actually invite them into your inbox, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
I don't want, because I think all of these other external places came from us not wanting all this stuff in our inbox. We wanted it elsewhere. It's hard enough to keep your inbox current.
And so thank you, Google Buzz, for dumping it all back into our inbox.
Right, but if somebody likes your content enough to get it, to invite you into their inbox, then yeah, they're probably going to engage and really read it. Yeah, that doesn't just happen.
I just think, if you're just trying to build a community around, like, I've got lots of content, Twitter, Facebook, that kind of thing would be great. But what Jason, I think, has discovered in part, and a lot of other people who are doing newsletters or that kind of stuff now, is, including Lauren Feldman, who sort of co-opted that idea soon after, is that, the level of engagement. I mean, if you don't want just people to see your content, but really read it, think about it, you want to provoke a reaction, you really do need a longer form sort of format than something like, say, Twitter.
Yep.
All right, let's...
How much time do we have?
Yeah, we're almost done. We got like 9. Yeah, we do an hour. So we got about 9-10 minutes left, and I do want to get to the news. I had a game. You think we should do the game? I had a new game.
Do the game?
Let's try the new game.
All right.
So I was saying I had the hashtag game, which totally didn't work because nobody would guess what, like, you're broke now, or things that you hate, or whatever. Nobody could get it. So instead, I've gone to 3 different celebrities, and I've looked at replies people send to them. So I read the replies. You try to guess the celebrity. That's the new game.
Ooh, I like this game.
That sounds like a good game, right? Okay, so here we'll do the first one. Number 1, this is from @Dread76. Would love to go on a date with both of you guys, lol. Number 2 is from Moni the Gem. My parents are 30 years apart. I have to report on May-December marriages. Can you please give me your input if you can?
These are @replies to one celebrity.
These are @replies to a single celebrity. Okay. Your job, all 3 of you, and in the chat room, please join us, is to guess the celebrity. I got 3 more. This one I think should be a giveaway. This makes up for nothing but trouble. Seriously, though, I admire the political work you're doing. @Noxzilla.
That threw me, because I thought I knew.
I was thinking it was a Kardashian at first. Not a Kardashian?
Well, Kardashian in the film Nothing But Trouble? I don't know.
Oh, yeah, well, no.
This makes up for nothing but trouble. That, to me, is the key right there. All right, we'll do number 4. I remember when you used to be an actress. Those were the days. That's from Perez Hilton.
Ouch.
He's mean.
I don't remember even what Nothing But Trouble was, though.
Not Justin Bieber. Tech front.
At the LA's Best Most Shameless Self-Promoter, I was told that I beat out Perez.
Oh, really? Good.
Yeah, I love that.
A more shameless self-promoter?
Yeah, by the way.
He's just shameless.
Yeah, he's just shameless.
So, can we go again real quick? The chat room, I don't know if it's really fair. I'm not looking because...
I can't see the chat room,
I think actually Jonathan360 in the chat room he's within 2. He gets 2.
He could just search, so...
That's true.
Now they know that.
It's not totally fair. Don't cheat in the chat room.
Yeah, no Googling.
No Googling. I have one more. Do you guys want to hear one more?
Yes.
Clue? You are a brilliant actress. I have watched a majority of your films, including St. Elmo's Fire. You are great. And that was @JohnBurr2002.
I think you're thinking that we're film buffs like you. I don't think I've ever seen that movie.
St. Elmo's Fire? All right. The answer, Jonathan360 got it in the chat room, Mrs. Kutcher. Demi Moore.
Okay, see, I thought that at first because the May-December.
May-December, right?
I thought that at first, but then what was you said one that threw
Nothing.
me?
She's in the film Nothing But Trouble with Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd.
That threw me.
All right, so let's really quick because this is related, and I want to share this with the chat room. So maybe you could put it in here.
Yeah.
Search for Museum of Celebrity Tweets. Have you guys seen this?
I don't think I have seen the Museum
It is
of
a
Celebrity Tweets.
pictorial essays of celebrity tweets.
Oh, wow.
And it is so funny. It is so well done.
Is it Laughing Squid or tweetmuseum.com?
It should be tweetmuseum.com.
Okay, there it is. Illustrated Celebrity Tweets, it's called.
Yeah. Okay, so
I'm going to dump it in the chat.
Dump it in the chat room so they can see. It's a great illustrator. I mean, obviously some tweets are very hard to kind of discern what they're talking about, and so he makes these kind of awesome visuals for it.
Yeah. Oh, and I should, Rinda in the chat room did
Rinda.
guess Ashton and Demi. So, Jonathan and Rinda, congratulations. Well done. You guys want to do one more? You want to try one more?
Let's do it.
All right. Number 1. Your boobs in your default look like they're trying to eat your neck. I love you. That's from @Tara_Green.
Can I guess?
You can guess.
Meghan McCain?
No, that's a great guess. But
I
no.
know, right?
What about Coco?
No, another good guess. Now you're just thinking of booby celebrities.
Yeah.
We'll do another one. Real world is so boring. I miss you. That's from @Hollaback.
Is Puck on Twitter? I don't think so. But, okay, sorry,
Does
go
Puck
ahead.
have a great rack?
Yeah.
Puck does. Puck
Maybe
has a
not.
killer rack. Let's see. What are your tanning secrets? You look amazing. Ashmash
nice.
XOXO.
Gotta be
Snooky.
Snooky.
@Snooky.
At
Well
Snooki.
done.
All right.
Well done. All right, we can move on. Who's the coolest celebrity who's ever replied to you?
I gotta say, was it Ash? It was one of the Kutchers retweeted
Really?
one of my articles.
Wow.
It drove 15,000 hits, so they're the coolest to me.
That's pretty cool.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess what excites me is a little different, but I got a reply from A-Track, the DJ A-Track.
That's
that,
pretty
that,
cool.
That was
Yeah,
pretty cool.
that'll work.
Yeah.
Ever gotten a celebrity
I haven't
reply?
gotten any big celebrity replies.
No.
Working my way
Just try
there.
harder.
You'll get there eventually. I've had a couple comics. I think Paul F. Tompkins replied to me once, which was pretty awesome. That was exciting for me. All right, let's do the news before we run out of time completely because they got to set up. That goes too fast. Nobody can ever see that the headline says that I'm the sexiest man in the world. We'll slow in the pan in the future.
All right, so the big story this week, yesterday we went back and forth on Twitter about it, was Twitter's 10 billion tweets.
10 billion tweets.
Yeah.
So there was a site that was monitoring this, happened yesterday afternoon, and they went from 1 billion in November 2008, 5 billion 4 months ago, and now already 10 billion.
10 billion.
So my question to you guys is, what do you think is more significant in terms of self-publishing? Because many think of Twitter in terms of, a sort of revolution in self-publishing, sort of kind of what WordPress and a lot of the other blogging software did. What do you think is more significant when we look back, sort of what Twitter's allowing from a publishing standpoint, or what blogs, WordPress and those type of things provided?
I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how many blog posts are published or have been published. I don't think it's 10 billion.
No, I think Twitter's probably beat him out by now.
Yeah.
Well, but if you broke a blog post down into 140
140
character segments,
snippets. Yeah,
then
that's true. That would definitely be, because there's a lot of those crazy long
Yeah.
blog posts. That would
So-
probably put him over the top.
I think it illustrates the fact that content is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and there's too much of it. We're getting to these saturation points, and so when we get beyond Twitter, which is maybe 2-3 years away, that it'll all be about distilling. How do you distill 10 billion things? Like, how do you find out what's good in sports, in music, and my interests? Like, it's all about distilling. I mean, it's staggering. It's a staggering number I can't even begin to think about. Yeah.
What I think is scary is you hear those stats that like the top 5-10% of people are producing all of these tweets. It's like it's not even 10 billion spread amongst all Twitter's users. It's 10%. Like that's like 1 billion of just the top users. It's like frightening numbers. Really
Yeah,
huge.
and then also the big thing on that number too is how much of that is spam and crap.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like now,
Quite
and
a
also
bit.
that number they're quantifying it through some numerology. They're not really doing true.
Oh, really?
do we know
Yeah.
who sent the tweet?
It was a private account, so we don't know.
Oh,
Yeah, it was,
Oh, lame.
that's boring.
I do know that I was 7,000 away from
Yeah,
being
everyone was trying for like a
Yeah.
minute there. You had like Scoble trying over and over again to see if he
Yeah.
could hit it, and didn't quite work.
so that was big. I mean, it's probably going to even ramp up faster, I'd imagine, that we'd hit.
Well, it's been exponential now since November. So yeah, presumably we're going to hit 20 billion pretty soon. Frightening.
So another story this week actually involves MySpace.
Oh boy.
So American Idol going on right now.
Right?
They actually shut down the personal accounts of all the final contestants and just pointed everyone to sort of one account on
Right,
Facebook.
to
one account on
follow
MySpace.
American Idol
Yeah.
generally.
So what do you think about that? Do you think that's a good decision, or do you think? I mean, the explanation that they gave was we didn't want sort of to give away who could possibly be the winner by how many followers or how much popularity these people have.
It doesn't really matter.
I honestly can't really. Let's talk about this after the show. Yes, and that is a thought too, that a person could sway the vote. And let's say that they were better at gaming Twitter. They could do perhaps something to game and sway the vote as well too. I think there's a lot of scrutiny on American Idol because there's a lot at stake and it's a lot of focus. So other than that, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know the entire policy, but I would say that I'm not going to comment anymore. Let's go on to someone else.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you think that every contestant should have their individual presence own? And that's the big question too, I guess. Do you think they should have a presence that's co-opted by American Idol?
Look, they get to like vote for me, guys, and da-da-da. They get to do their show. They should get to absolutely use the social media. They should be able to do it. I think it's expanding their reach. People still need to call in and vote, right? And you're still winning based on the votes. So if you want to rally up your troops, rally up your troops. Maybe there's people who are coming from, some small town, and that whole town, could join their Twitter page. It's not good. How do we know that's affecting the votes? They weren't following them anyway. I don't like that. I don't like you can't do this, you can't do that. Why can't they? Let them.
Spoken like a true shameless self-promoter.
But you know what? Self-promotion, if you're not going to promote you, who's going to promote you?
Right.
And,
That's true.
who's going to...
Certainly not News Corp.
Not
the owners of American Idol.
Self-promotion will let you establish a personal brand. At one point I was just, blogging. And now it's self-promoter. Okay, but I also am generating an income and running a business off of this self-promotion. But it's not promoting me. I'm promoting me through promoting me. I'm promoting what I do.
Right.
So it's the same thing for something like that, entertainment-based. And I think as long as people can't vote through Twitter or vote through MySpace, then why does it matter? People still need to call in and vote.
I do think I can see
and
both
pay.
sides.
Don't you pay to vote?
I think you can vote for
free. Isn't 99 cents or something you pay?
Only if you get charged by your phone company.
You can text in your vote. Yeah. You can call, but you can also text in your vote. And I think, depending on what service you have, you may get charged to text in your vote.
I'm not into the American Idol machine, so I don't know exactly how that works.
Yeah. I think you can see both sides of that one, though, because if you think about it, the show is supposed to be about who's the best singer, not who has the best sort of Twitter presence. And if one of them's got a real sparkling personality and is good with tech, it would give them they may be able to overcome. What if Sanjaya was really awesome at tweeting? He could have swayed things in his favor, and then you don't get the best singer.
Well, remember the Howard Stern Sanjaya thing? I think the thought is that he was pushed through because media was behind him. So what if someone wrote the story that one American Idol contest had 10 million followers?
But what about that other guy?
Sway opinion.
The guy who came before Sanjaya, who was he's saying something, she bangs or something, didn't he say? And
Justin or something?
No,
he was in
yeah. Oh yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So it's honestly, if you've got millions of people that are trying out for American Idol, what that means, the fact that he even made it onto TV, means that somebody who can actually sing was declined to let this guy in, so that there's a media frenzy, okay, so that you can't say that's okay, but if an actual contestant who can sing makes it on there, they can't tweet. Why? That's ridiculous. If people can't vote through Twitter, then it is still fair. It's still an even playing field because people are getting publicity in other ways. So why can't they get it from their social media resources?
I think it's a pretty compelling case. I can sort of see why they would be hesitant, especially as somebody pointed out in the chat room, Darren Dickey, the post show. If they get kicked off, you don't want them going on Twitter this is total BS and F you, Paula. And
why not? That would be great. That'd be great for the show. That'd be great for them. It would buzz up a whole bunch of stuff.
I would find that great, definitely.
People are scared of it, I think, and so they'd rather just say no than.
Yeah, I think big corporations are definitely afraid of the bad PR that could come out of letting these teenagers loose.
It may change. Let's move on from this topic before you guys really get me in trouble. But, think about when Twitter first came on, and there was a lot of weird stuff around journalists having Twitter accounts.
Yeah.
That's kind of gone away now, and most companies, they've either established a policy and best practices, and people follow those, or they just flat out don't let them do it. And so we'll see what happens, maybe next year.
You got one more amazingly compelling story?
So, Shorty Awards were on Wednesday.
Shorty Awards.
No one cared this year.
Yeah, they have major coverage, but I bring it up because they awarded stuff over 26 different categories: innovative uses of Twitter, best brand, Whole Foods, application, TweetDeck, stuff like that.
Betty Draper won.
Yeah, Betty Draper was most innovative.
Account.
So what's the most innovative use of Twitter that you guys have come across? You just mentioned that site, which was pretty neat. But what have you guys been most impressed by on Twitter? If you had to pick one use.
That is a good question.
Use
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of something
People
that really
get creative. People do get creative. I mean, there are some Twitter accounts that are just like, you know, I don't know if I can say shit my dad says.
Yeah.
Like that's hysterical. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's hysterical. People love to follow it because it's just funny. And then I love people's fake accounts.
So do I.
I love people's
I'm a big fake account
this
fan.
one, fake that one. I won't feel like I really made it as a Twitter anything. There's no fake Alana Joy yet. When there's a fake Alana Joy,
really?
I'll feel like I made it.
With my pen.
Yeah, I know. There's no fake Alana Joy.
I have fakes, but they're all spam accounts. And so somehow I got into their spam list, and there's about 40 fake Percival accounts out there. But I think what's also really interesting and innovative is Common Squirrel. I think it's common_squirrel.
Yeah.
It's the mind of a squirrel. It's the mind of a squirrel. So you read it and it's like sleep, or it's eat, or
nuts.
Run, nuts, or run. It's just like, that stuff's funny. Shit my dad says is great. I love it too when people take something that from the outside and connect it to Twitter. Like, so we have it's called a Nabaz tag, which is a little Wi-Fi rabbit, and it'll speak to me. You can go to my website, you can go to Lalawag and click on Nabaz tab.
I agree that's an innovative use of Twitter.
It'll actually speak to me, and it'll read the message out loud, and then it'll take your message and it'll tweet it as well too. And so you can see what everyone's been sending to it too. So I love it when you take the the tangible and bring it into the Twitterverse.
Yeah, I'll tell you the one I like is 1,000 Times Yes. I don't know if you guys are following that.
No.
It's a music critic, and he tweets every calendar year. He tweets 1,000 music reviews of new albums.
Wow.
But just one review per tweet. So he has to compress it. He gives it a numerical score, and he has to write a music review all in 140 characters. Cool. And it's actually, he just did it for 2009 was the first year he did it, and the 1,000th review was Susan Boyle, and the final two was just FU 2009, which I thought was really like a great way to sort of sum it all up. So that was it. And I love fake accounts too, like Darth Vader, or somebody mentioned. Any fictional character who's on Twitter is sort of appealing to me in some way.
Well, when I say fake accounts, I almost mean like,
what do you mean,
not so and so.
Fake Jason Calacanis.
Yeah, exactly.
Out there too. But I also like when people bring in the sort of completely fictional universe and sort of make it real on Twitter. I always think that's interesting.
The only other one is @PercivalSpawn if you want to follow
@PercivalSpawn.
it.
It's not fictional.
So
it's very real.
That's not fictional, but it's an innovative use of Twitter. We're going to tweet. We've tweeted from conception to birth, and at birth, we'll hand over the Twitter account to the child, and I'll put it in his name, and it'll be sitting there. And a lot of people think this is creepy, and some people have said so, and that's fine.
Let's be honest. It's a little creepy.
I don't think it's creepy. I mean, you guys are both of you are in tech.
Yeah.
It's your world. I mean, I'm curious. Is there anyone? How could there be anyone younger on Twitter?
I don't think
you
it's
guys should get a
biologically
Guinness. You guys should get a Guinness.
Well,
something.
I don't think we're the first people to do this, and it's interesting now that we've done it. All these other babies are following us. Our unborn babies are following us, and they're tweeting at each other. The fetuses are tweeting at each other.
This is like the best pro-life argument
ever.
fetuses
are tweeting.
Look, you can't get rid of these fetuses. They're already tweeting.
Has Twitter jumped the shark? I don't know.
They are building their own brand.
When fetuses
Twitter has
tweeting,
jumped the
I don't
fetus,
know.
at least. That's all I know.
Jumped the fetus.
Gross.
Jumped the placenta. Okay, sorry.
Now that would be an innovative use of Twitter. Could you hook up some sort of monitor to Lori so that every time the baby actually kicked, it was like, I'm fussy?
I wanted to have those Wi-Fi scales. I think Jason's using the Wi-Fi scale, right?
Yes,
I think he was.
Yes, he is.
So
in fact, he had on This Week in Startups, he had the company CEO behind it.
I wanted to get her on that scale so that people could follow her weight gain progress. Guess what? Not interested in that.
No, really.
There's someone that I'm following
that
on Daily Booth who has been taking daily pictures of her whole pregnancy.
Well, I don't want to spoil it, but I've been doing that too. And so at 9 months, you'll see a very interesting photo, time-lapse photo.
Nice.
The weirdest thing I've seen is a dog collar that
Yes, I read about this.
That basically tweets a message on behalf of the dog when they bark or translate it to dog speak.
So it'd be like I'm in the kitchen, I'm eating kibble. It's just like, it seems like not. How fascinating could it possibly get? All right, I guess that we're actually 8 minutes over, so I'm going to wrap it up now. Thank you very much to our guests, Alana Joy, Sean Percival, to Mike Rocco, the newsman, as always, and we'll see you next week on This Week in Twitter.